Hi everyone. So today I'm looking at the 2023 higher level Creditors Control Account question. So hopefully I can break this down and give you a method that should work for you whenever this comes up. So the first thing that I would say is that it's important to just know what each of the terms mean. So like the ones that I've highlighted here. So just when you see them come up, you can actually interpret properly what posting has been made and then what postings we need to do in order to correct anything that's been done wrong. So look, I'll just read the top part first. So it says the creditors ledger control account of T. Gallagher showed the following balances. So there was 48,760 credit balance and 280 debit balance on 31st of December 2022. These figures did not agree with the schedule or list of creditor balances extracted on the same date. An examination of the books revealed the following, and then we have 6 points to go through then. And we're required to prepare the adjusted creditors ledger control account and prepare the adjusted schedule or list of creditors showing the original balance. There's also a bit of theory there, but I won't bother going through that today. If you just read the solution for that, it should be handy enough. So I'll just focus on part A and B. Okay, so we have all these terms here which I've highlighted, and then I've just written a quick note down here at the bottom what each of them actually mean. So if we see the term supplier or creditors account, then that means that it's affecting the schedule or the list. If we see the term in the books, that means it affects the schedule or the list and the control account. So again, like part A is we have to do the control account and part B is the schedule or list. So we have to make adjustments for them. So if we see in the books, it's affecting both of them. Okay, day book means control account. Personal account means the schedule or list. And general ledger means just the control account. Okay, so that's going to be very important when we're going down through it. Next thing then is, since this is creditors that we're looking at, okay, then creditors accounts, we debit them to decrease as I've shown here, and we credit them to increase them. And then if we see that a credit note has come in, so a credit note should be decreasing the amount that we owe to our suppliers or our creditors. So if a credit note comes in, we should be putting it in as a minus figure, decreasing the amount that we owe back to our suppliers. And if an invoice comes in, it's the opposite, that's increasing the amount that we owe. Okay, and then I'm gonna just show working and kind of use like an ABC method here to hopefully get the right answer pretty much every time. So yeah, A is going to show us, be the label for like what happened, what posting was actually made. B is the posting that should have actually been made, what actually should have happened. And then C is going to be the entry we have to make to correct. So to get the entry we have to correct, it's always going to be B minus A. Okay, so I'll go into the working first, and this working is going to give us what we need to be able to do part A and part B. Okay, so I'm just going to set out two columns. So one's going to be schedule / list. So they mean the same thing, the schedule and the list are the same thing. And then over here I'll have control account. Control account, right. And then I'll just start with part 1 obviously. And I'll just put, okay, so A is going to be what happened, B is what should have happened, C is the entry we make to correct. Okay, so that's going to be the same for each of the 6 parts. Okay, so if we read this, so it says purchases of 9,570 had been entered on the debit side of a supplier's account. This figure included cash purchases of 2,300. Okay, so we'll just do A first always, right? So purchases of 9,570 had been entered on the debit side of a supplier's account. Now, if we look at down my note here and see what does supplier's account mean. So supplier's account means it was an entry to the schedule or the list. Okay, so 9,570 it says was put on the debit side of a supplier's account. That means it was put in to decrease. So that's going to be a minus figure. Okay, so I'll just put that in brackets because it's minus. So it's minus 9,570 to my schedule or my list. And then for the control account here, so then it says this figure included cash purchases of 2,300. Okay, fine, we'll come back to that. So the control account then, so since this is actually silent on if anything was done to the control account, we basically make the assumption that the correct entry was made to the control account, okay? So what was actually done to the control account, we're just gonna, since it's silent here, it's not telling us anything incorrect has been done. We're just gonna assume that the correct thing was actually done. So what is the correct thing? Okay, so we made purchases of 9,570. So that's gonna, obviously, if we bought something off of a supplier, we should be increasing the amount we owe to that supplier. So it should be credited to the supplier's account. But that figure included 2,300 of cash purchases. So obviously cash purchases aren't going to increase the amounts that we owe to the supplier because we're paying them right away. So they're not going to affect our creditors control account because it's only credit purchases that affect our credit control account. So the amount that should be posted to the control account should be 9,570 minus 2,300. So 7,270 positive figure. So we're not told that anything else, like anything was done wrong. So we're going to assume that that was what was done. The correct thing was actually done. So 720 credited to creditors control account. Okay. Now we're going to say what should have happened. Okay. So like ignoring what actually happened now, first of all, again, and just focusing on, okay, if everything was done perfectly, what should have happened here? Okay, well, we've already worked that out like that. What should have happened was that the credit purchases that we made should have been credited to the schedule or the list and the control account. In both cases, it should have been credited, so increasing the amount we owe to the creditors. Okay, so it should be 7,270 positive for both of them. Okay, and then C is actually getting what we actually need to do in order to correct this is actually always the easy part. So C, literally every time you just go B minus A. Okay, so 7,270 minus, and just be careful here, so it's minus 9,570. So it's two minuses, so essentially it's 7,270 plus 9,570. Minus by minus is obviously plus. So that gives us 16,840 that I need to pop in here, right? And then this is 7,270 minus 7,270, so this is obviously going to be 0. So we don't need to change anything there to correct that, basically. And basically that is the method that we're going to do for all of these from points 1 to 6. So I'll go on to point 2. Okay, A, B, C again. Right, so Gallagher had received an invoice from a supplier for €730. This had been entered in the appropriate daybook as 370. Okay, what does daybook mean? Daybook means control account. Okay, so what was done in the control account? So this had been entered in the appropriate daybook as 370. So that's telling us that this was an invoice, okay? Invoices increase the amount we owe to suppliers. So an invoice, basically it was incorrectly put in as 370. It should have been 730, but it was only put in as 370. So that's the control account. So it's what happened was 370 was credited to the control account. However, when posting from the day book to the ledger, no entry had been made in the supplier's account. So no entry made in the so supplier's account means, if we check again, scheduler list. So there is no entry made there. So that's 0. Right. Okay, what should have happened? So 730, an invoice for 730 should have been credited. So that's for both cases. So part B is literally what should have happened is always going to be the same for both every time. So what should have happened to the scheduler list is always going to be the same as what should have happened to the control account, okay, and vice versa. So B is always going to be the exact same for both of them, okay, 730, 730. Okay, and then C, literally go B minus A again. So 730 here, and 730 minus 370 gives us 360. Okay, that's part 2 done. Part 3. Okay, so discount disallowed by a supplier of €94 had been recorded as discount received €90 in the general ledger and debited as €9 in the supplier's account. Okay, so general ledger. Okay, so if we come down here, general ledger means control account. Okay, so discount allowed by a supplier had been recorded as discount received €90 in the general ledger. So just put these again here, A, B, C. So A, right, in the general ledger, that's the control account. So what happened to the general ledger? So they posted €90 discount received to the general ledger. Okay, so discount received, if we receive a discount from a supplier, that decreases the amount that we owe to that supplier, okay? So that would have been minus 90. So minus 90 to the creditor's control account, okay? And then there was a debit of €9 to the supplier's account. So supplier's account means the scheduler list. So minus 9 was done there. So debit is minus 9. Okay, what should have happened? So it was a discount disallowed by a supplier of €94. So that's what actually, it should have been discount disallowed by a supplier of €94 should have been recorded. So if a discount allowed is a debit, if a discount allowed from a supplier is a debit, okay, then a discount disallowed must be a credit. So a discount disallowed increases the amount that we owe to the supplier. So it should have been credit 94, okay, for both of those. Okay, 94 minus 9 gives me positive 103. 94 minus 90 gives me 4. Sorry, so 94 minus 90 is what that should be. And that gives me positive 184. Okay. So part 4 then. So Gallagher had returned goods costing €650 to a supplier and had entered this correctly in the books. Okay, so if we return goods to a supplier, that's going to decrease the amount that we owe to the supplier. So that's should be minus 650. And it says in the books. So what does in the books mean? In the books means it's being done to the scheduler list and the control account, okay? So minus 650 on both sides here. A, B, C again, okay. Okay, then, however, a credit note arrived showing a deduction of 10% for a restocking charge. The total amount of this credit note was debited to the creditor's account, okay? So let's get the total amount of the credit note, okay? So the credit note, so the goods, so the credit note would be for 650, right? Because that's how much we returned, but then they took off 10% for a restocking charge. So we only actually got a credit note for 90% of the total cost of the goods. So it's 650 multiplied by 0.9 is 585. Okay, so that's the total amount of the credit note. And the total amount of the credit note was debited to the creditor's account. Okay, creditor's account means the schedule or list. So it was debited to the creditor's account. Okay, so actually we had debit 650, but also now we have debit 585 as well happening to the creditors, the scheduler list. Okay, now in relation to the credit note, no other entry was made in the books, so that's all of what actually happened recorded here now. So if we look at what should have happened, okay, so really what should have happened is the amount that we owed to the supplier should have been decreased by the cost of what we returned minus the amount of the restocking charge, because they're essentially charging us back for that. So we're only getting a credit note for the 650 minus 10%. So really it should have been debit 585 in both places, obviously. So 585 here minus 585 here. Okay, sorry. So if I add up these two, so 650 plus 585, okay, I get, so this is going to be minus, so I'll put this in as minus 1235. Okay, so I need to go with this one minus 585, and then it's B minus A, remember, so it's minus 1235. So it gives me positive 650. Okay, and same over here, so I need to go minus 585 minus 650. Gives me positive 65. Okay. Part 5 then. So a credit note was received from a supplier for 580. The only entry made in the books was €58 credited to the supplier's account. So supplier's account is the scheduler list. So we credited that with 58. So positive 58. No other entry made in the books, okay? So then what should have happened then? So it was a credit note received from a supplier for €580. So we should have been debiting it with 580. So credit notes are decreasing the amount that we owe, so debit 580. So if I go minus 580 minus 58, I get minus 638. And then if I go minus 580 minus 0, I get minus 580. Okay, last one now. So part 6. So Gallagher had a customer who was also a supplier to the business. This customer owed Gallagher €420, and they agreed to offset one debt against the other. The offset was entered as 240 on the correct side of the supplier's account. This was the only entry made in the books. So in the schedule or list, we put in credit 240, right? Because they're saying that they're going to offset. So they're also a customer. So they agreed they're going to offset one against the other. So essentially, what's going to happen, sorry, this should be minus. So what's going to happen is they're going to decrease the debtor. We're going to increase the amount that they owe us, and they're going to decrease the amount that we owe them. So sounds a little bit complicated, but essentially you just need to know that if that one comes up, it's always going to be decreasing the amount in the creditors, okay? So we've got minus 240 gone in there, and we're told that was the only entry made. Okay, so if we look at what should have happened, so it was put in as minus 240, but it should have been minus 420. Okay, and then B minus A, so 420 minus 420 minus minus 240 gives me minus 180. And then minus 420 minus 0 gives me minus 420. Okay, so that's my entire working done. So it's going to be pretty quick now for me to just finish up part A and B. Okay, so I'll do part A first. So part A is to do the adjusted creditors ledger control account. Okay, so this is literally just setting up a T account. So I'll have control account. Okay. Right. And so if I just put in my balances at the start, okay, so it showed the following balances. So I've a balance brought down of 48,760 credit. So I have to put in balance brought down 48,760. And the debit side as well, I have balance brought down of 280. Okay, and now I'll just go by my working now. Okay, so I'm just looking at part C all the way along because that's what we have to post to correct. Okay, so if I just look at the control account side first, so part 1 I don't need to post anything. Part 2 then, okay, so part 2 was to do with an invoice. Okay, so I'm just going to put invoice here, and then I'll just put part 2 there in brackets, and that is going to be a credit of 360. Okay, then I've got part 3. So part 3 was to do with the discount disallowed, so I'll just put discount part 3, and for that one I need to credit by 184. Part 4 then was to do with the restocking charge, so I'll just put restocking here, part 4, and that is 65. Okay, then I've got part 5. So part 5 was to do with the credit note, and I have to debit on part 5, so I'll just do that on the other side here. So credit note, part 5, and that is a credit of 580. Yeah, 580. Okay, and part 6 then is debtor offset. The debtor offset, part 6, and that is for 420. Okay, then I've also got the 280 here, balance brought down for my on the debit side, so I'm just going to bring that down here as well. So just going to carry it down here, so that's going to be balance carried down, and that is 280. All right, then I just need to balance up these. Okay, right, so add up the bigger side, so that's clearly going to be the credit side. 48,760 plus 360 plus 184 plus 65 plus 280 gives me 49,649. Okay, 49,649. So I need the same on the other side. So obviously that doesn't balance. that doesn't add up to 49,649. So I'm going to have a balance carried down on this side. So that's going to be 49,649 minus 420 minus 580 minus 280. So I have a balance carried down on this side of 48,369, and I just have to bring that down on the other side. 48,369, and then same with the debit balance here. So I have to, if that's carried down on this side, then it's brought down on the other side. So balance brought down 280. Okay, so that's part A done. I'll just do part B now. Right, so part B. So this is for the schedule or list, right? So schedule or list. Right, so it's going to start off with balance as per creditor's listing. But the thing is that I don't know that figure yet, so I'm going to have to work backwards to that figure. So I'm just going to put in the things I have to add on for my working first. Okay, so the ones I'm adding on are so it's part 1 is going to be added on. So part 1 was to do with purchases. Part 1, and that's going to be 16,840 added on. Then part 2 was to do with an invoice we received. Part 2, and that's going to be 730. Part 3 then was to do with the discount. And that is for 103. Part 4 then was to do with the restocking charge. Restocking, part 4. And that is for 650. Okay, so that's all the ones that I have to add. So if I add those up, so 16,840 plus 730 plus 103 plus 650, I get 18,323. Okay, and then see what I have to deduct. So deduct, so I need my minuses here. So I have to deduct from part 5. So part 5 was to do with a credit note. Part 5 minus 638. And then part 6 then. So part 6 was to do with the debtor offset. Part 6. And that is minus 180. So if I take minus 638 minus 180, I get, minus 638 minus 180, I get minus 818. Okay. So my final figure here is going to be the net of my control account up here. So that's going to be my net balance. Net balance per adjusted control account. And that was, so that is going to be 48,369 minus 280 from here. Gives me 48,089. And we're asked to show, so prepare the adjusted scheduler list of creditors showing the original balance. So if I want to get the original balance, I have to go 48,089 minus, so I have to take off both these figures. So I have to minus 818, and I have to minus 18,323. And that gives me an opening balance then, so balance as per creditors listing here at the start of 30,584. So 30,584. Okay, so that's part A and B done there, complete. So hopefully you found that helpful, and yeah, hopefully you find it to be kind of a good method that you can use like anytime creditors control accounts come up in the exam. If you follow that method, then you should be getting the right answer, or very close to it at least, pretty much every time. So yeah, hopefully you found that helpful, and please subscribe to follow along if you find these videos good.